Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. Today we're going to be going through some audio lectures by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a psychologist who really focused his entire career on understanding how we create meaning
Hmm.
in our lives. And, especially when it feels like the world around us is just chaos.
Yeah, his work is really resonating with a lot of people these days.
Yeah,
Because, everybody is searching for that kind of order and purpose in their life, whether they know it or not.
yeah, for sure. And he starts off by sort of throwing a curveball at us with this concept of order by default.
Hey.
Have you ever heard of this?
I haven't.
So basically, it's this idea that in simpler societies, or even in our own childhoods, there's this harmony that exists
Yeah.
simply because choices are limited,
Okay.
right? You have your set of skills, you have your routine, and, life just kind of flows.
Yeah.
And he uses this example of the happy savage myth,
Right.
that very romanticized idea of humans living in a blissful state of nature.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like that noble savage sort of.
Yeah, totally. So, there's maybe some truth to the simplicity,
Right.
but it's very fragile, right? Because if your entire world revolves around basic survival, then there isn't a lot of room for, questioning the meaning of life.
Right.
So as societies develop and become more complex, so does our consciousness.
Right.
And then that old, default harmony is just, disrupted completely.
So, it's almost like we trade blissful ignorance for a potential existential crisis.
Well, it's not that straightforward.
Okay.
Csikszentmihalyi suggests that this inner turmoil that comes with, increased consciousness is actually a natural part of development.
Yep.
It's like a growing pain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He even compares modern humans to the mythical Dr. Faustus, who traded his soul for knowledge and power.
Yeah. Okay. That's a pretty heavy comparison.
It is.
So how do we navigate this potential for meaninglessness then in a world of infinite choice?
Right?
I mean, does he give us any kind of lifeline?
He does, and it's surprisingly simple. He argues that instead of us trying to invent meaning, from scratch, we should look to the wisdom of those who came before us. Think about it. We don't reinvent the wheel every time we build a car.
Sure.
Why should meaning be any different?
So where do we find these blueprints for meaning then? Are we talking like self-help books here?
No, it's much broader than that.
Okay.
He points to all the music, art, architecture, literature, philosophy, even religion.
Oh, wow.
These are repositories of hard-won wisdom. They offer insights into how humans have struggled with these questions for centuries.
He even suggests that we can turn to Dante's Divine Comedy for advice on navigating a midlife crisis.
Exactly.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Like finding solace in a 600-year-old poem.
Yeah, and it really highlights the timelessness of these struggles.
Totally. And this is where I think his concept of flow comes in.
Right.
Probably familiar with flow.
Yeah.
It's that state of deep absorption and enjoyment when you're totally immersed in something challenging. But what's really interesting here is how he links flow to this larger search for meaning.
Yeah.
He believes that these flow states help us integrate our experiences and provide a sense of purpose even amidst the chaos.
Right.
So it's like finding meaning doesn't necessarily require grand gestures
No.
or profound revelations. It could be as simple as, losing yourself in a good book or having a really stimulating conversation with a friend.
Exactly.
And that brings us to another concept, the autotelic personality.
Yes.
Right? These are individuals who seem to find this inherent joy in almost everything they do.
Yeah.
They're driven by the process itself, not just by external rewards.
Yeah, like the artist who gets lost in creating, regardless of whether it's ever going to be displayed.
Right. It makes you wonder, what are the activities that really make you forget about time? What truly captivates you?
It does.
And are those moments of flow contributing to your own sense of purpose?
Yeah, it's a great question, and discovering your own flow activity is crucial.
Yeah.
But it also raises a point about how society shapes those opportunities. Csikszentmihalyi argues that the types of flow activities a society encourages can actually reflect its overall well-being.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really fascinating to think about how those opportunities for flow have changed throughout history. Csikszentmihalyi brings up early metallurgy. And it's interesting because, believe it or not, things like bronze and other metals were first used for decoration.
Oh, really?
Yeah, things like ornaments and status symbols,
Huh.
long before they became practical tools.
So that drive for creativity and self-expression was already there from the very beginning.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about survival. It was about finding meaning and joy in the act of creating itself.
Right.
It makes you wonder if, all our new technology, from smartphones to VR, if it's driven by that same need to find new forms of flow,
Oh, for sure.
new ways to engage our mind
Totally.
and express ourselves.
It's an interesting parallel, for sure. And he suggests that institutions like religion and law, government, even the military, might have originated as forms of play or games.
Wow, can you imagine?
Yeah, these structures that feel so rigid and bureaucratic,
Right.
they might have started as spontaneous expressions of creativity.
That's a wild thought.
It is.
Like a game that eventually lost its playfulness and got bogged down in rules.
Yeah, and he compares it to the evolution of capitalism.
Hmm.
You know, what started as a dynamic, almost game-like system for entrepreneurs became what Max Weber called an iron cage.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it makes you wonder, are we in danger of losing that sense of play and exploration that fueled so much innovation?
Yeah. Are we too focused on efficiency and productivity?
Right at the expense of enjoyment and engagement.
Yeah. And especially with all the distractions and demands of modern life, you know, it's easy to get caught in that cycle of just going through the motions.
Totally. Csikszentmihalyi seemed especially concerned about the impacts of things like passive entertainment. You know, spending hours watching television.
And it's not that watching TV is bad.
Right.
It's about how we use it.
Right. Are we using it to just escape or relax?
Right. Or has it become like a default mode?
Yeah, a way to avoid engaging with the world in a meaningful way.
Exactly.
It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah.
And, you know, this reminds me of that autotelic personality.
Yes.
You know, those individuals who are intrinsically motivated,
Uh-huh.
they find joy in the process itself, not the end result.
Right.
They seem better equipped to navigate these potential pitfalls of passive consumption.
Right, because they're driven by growth and challenge. They're constantly looking to expand their skills and experiences.
And they find those moments of flow in their work, their hobbies, their relationships.
It's just a part of who they are.
Do you think that this autotelic tendency is something we're born with? Or can it be
Oh.
cultivated?
I think it can be cultivated.
Can we design our lives and our societies to encourage this kind of deep engagement?
Yeah. He thinks education is huge, you know.
Yeah.
Exposing people to all sorts of activities, art, music, science, philosophy, can help them discover their passions and develop talents.
So it's not just about, you know, achieving external success.
No, it's about fostering that internal drive.
Right, that sense of purpose that comes from doing things that you love.
Exactly.
It makes me think about all the pressure that we put on young people
Oh, yeah.
to pick a career path
Yeah.
based on, you know, money or status.
Mm.
Are we missing an opportunity to encourage them to explore their passions and find what puts them in that flow state?
It's a really good point. Maybe instead of asking, what do you want to be when you grow up, we should ask, what makes you come alive?
Right.
What challenges you in a way that's both exciting and rewarding?
So shift the focus from external validation
Right.
to internal fulfillment.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful idea. And it's not just about individual happiness, is it?
No, Csikszentmihalyi says that a society that embraces these principles of flow and intrinsic motivation
Right.
will be more creative, more innovative, more resilient.
He uses the example of ancient Greece,
Right.
where citizens were encouraged to participate in tons of activities.
Yeah, athletics, politics, philosophy, the arts,
Right.
all of it.
And this cultural richness, he argued, led to their flourishing.
It did.
It's a pretty stark contrast to societies that prioritize conformity and narrow definitions of success.
Yeah.
How can we apply these lessons to our own communities then?
Yeah, how can we create environments that encourage exploration and collaboration?
Right, and a real sense of purpose.
It's a challenge, but it starts with recognizing how important flow and intrinsic motivation are.
Yeah.
Not just for us as individuals, but as the foundation of a thriving society.
Right. It's so easy to think that finding meaning requires some huge ambition or some big achievement.
Right.
But Csikszentmihalyi is emphasizing meaning in the everyday, like simple things.
It is a different perspective, for sure.
Yeah.
He reminds us that, you know, even just those quiet moments,
Yeah.
like spending time with family or pursuing a hobby, or just being present out in nature, can be super meaningful.
Totally.
You know, it's not about changing the world. It's
Yeah.
just about those small moments of joy.
And he's not afraid to talk about the hard stuff.
No.
He acknowledges that life is hard,
Yeah.
full of challenges and loss and suffering, but he still sees the potential for meaning even in those tough times.
He does.
It's about finding a way to integrate those experiences,
Right.
to learn from them.
Yeah, and grow from them.
He even says that this creating meaning, this finding order in the chaos,
Yeah.
is like resisting entropy in the universe.
It's interesting.
It is. Like by actively choosing to engage with life, to find beauty and purpose.
Right.
We're pushing back against disorder and decay.
That's a powerful thought for sure.
Yeah. And he also talks about the importance of connecting with the wisdom of all humanity.
Yeah.
Through art and literature and philosophy and religion.
Right. He sees all these traditions as guideposts.
Right.
Offering us insights into how people have lived for centuries.
Yeah, it's like we're tapping into this collective consciousness.
Yeah.
This inheritance of stories that help us make sense of our own experience.
Right.
And find our place in the world.
It is.
But he knows that we're living in a time of crazy change.
Oh, yeah.
Like the old ways of thinking,
right.
those traditional systems of meaning might not be enough anymore.
They might not.
So how do we balance this respect for the past with the need to create new ways of being, new frameworks for meaning in this world that's changing so fast?
It takes adaptability.
Okay.
It takes a willingness to question everything and embrace new ideas.
Yeah.
It's like finding that sweet spot between, honoring the past and forging our own path.
So I think that's where this deep dive leaves us today.
Yeah.
It's not about giving you the answers. It's about giving you new questions,
right.
new ways of thinking about meaning.
And if there's one thing to take away from Csikszentmihalyi, it's that the search for meaning is not passive.
Right.
It's a choice we make every single day.
Every day.
Through what we do, how we interact with others, how we engage with the world.
Yeah, and that choice to create meaning, it affects everyone.
It does.
Our communities.
Yeah.
Our society.
The future.
The future. So as you go about your day, think about what brings you joy.
Right.
What challenges you? What can you do to feel a sense of purpose?
Yeah, because ultimately it's not about reaching some finish line.
Right.
It's about the journey.
The journey itself.
With all the ups and downs.
And finding those moments of flow and connection and joy that make it all worthwhile.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So until next time, keep diving.